Hello, this is Broyar, and welcome back to another episode of our Let's Play for Football Manager 2023 as we continue our road to glory run now in the English Premier League. We have almost finished this. Well, I say almost. We still got a lot of work ahead of us. The Premier League is not going to be easy, I would imagine, and we still also need to win the Champions League. That's going to be kind of my gauge for getting to that glory, winning the Premier League and winning the Champions League. We might even throw in winning the FA Cup is there as well. You know, just if we win all three of those, I'll feel like we have reached ultimate glory with our little team here. But without further ado, let's get right into the season review and the transfer special. All right, here we are. And a season review for the 2031-32 season. Obviously, the big thing, winning the Sky Bet Championship trophy. Pretty crazy. I mean, pretty crazy. The new arrivals. We actually brought in quite a few people this year. Let's see if the board and the fans agreed. We brought in Umo, who is a goalkeeper for the future. Our current goalkeeper is 30, 31, something like that. Umo hopefully could fit into that spot, although we may eventually have to get an even better goalkeeper than him. Shea coming in here. Shea was outstanding. Absolutely good pickup for us. He's only got 4-star potential, but he's going to be able to stick around for quite some time, I think, getting us into the Premier League proper. And by that, I mean just being able to keep us from relegation, kind of getting into the mix of things. And then hopefully if we stay in there a couple seasons, we'll be able to generate enough money to continue to get better and better players. Mdouni obviously played extremely well for us this season as well. Good pickup for him. He's a 4.5-star potential, so he could be a guy that sticks around with us for the long haul. Caramel obviously got injured big time, but the little bit he did at the beginning of the season was enough to give us the ultimate victory, so can't count him out by any stretch. He probably won't be around this next season. I don't know. We'll have to see. I think we only signed him to a 1-year contract, 2 at most. We'll see what happens with him. Campbell coming in here, replacing a previous Campbell that we had. This Campbell has 3.5-star potential, 3.5-star current, so he's basically not going to get any better. In fact, he's actually starting to drop off a little bit. He played well this season. He did a lot of good stuff for us. He might be the type of player that we move on a little bit just to try and get some other guys in here, or he could be a guy that we keep around just as a rotational player. But we definitely need better players than him, or at least players that have better potential than him to be able to make it for the long haul. Vernon, I thought, played pretty well. 20 years old. He could be as good as a 5-star potential player, so he's definitely got a lot of room to grow. I think he's definitely going to be a player for the future for us. Griffiths came in here on a loan. Obviously, we're unlikely to keep him around. I would imagine that Arsenal is going to be taking a good look at him, keeping him for the long haul. We'll see. We might go after him as a permanent fixture if he's not going to be too expensive. Brandel played pretty well. I mean, not amazing, but well enough to kind of stick around, and he definitely has a lot of good potential as well. So he's definitely a player that could be worth keeping around for that. Same thing with Moss here. He's got some more potential to grow. He's 24 years old, so we haven't even seen him in his prime yet. Bennett, a little bit past his prime, probably. Could be a player to keep around just as a experienced, solid rotational player. We'll see. Dafter, another relatively young guy, although he appears to be at his full potential, so he might be a guy that qualifies as a sell-on type of player. King, obviously. I mean, all these players I've gotten us good ratings so far. I don't think we've seen a bad rating yet. King coming in here, he's definitely got room to grow. So we'll see what we can do with him. Ingram's probably one of the worst ratings we've got, and it's still a C+, which isn't terrible. He's starting to drop off a little bit. I don't think he's the type of player we will be bringing back on either a future loan or permanent, either way. Pip Iron, I believe this guy's got a good chunk of potential as well. Could go as high as 4 stars. Current ability is 2-star. He might be a player that we sell on, though. He's starting to dip down a little bit in quite a few spots, and we really didn't feature him that much. I only brought him on because he had that potential. Even if we didn't play him much this season, I was hoping that we could develop him into something for future. But if we can get, even a mil for him, I'd probably be happy with that. And then finally, Hayes. I personally was not impressed with Hayes. I would imagine, I'm surprised that they were okay with that. I guess we didn't pay anything for him. He was a free guy coming in. He will not, I don't think he'll be around. I don't think there's any reason to keep him around too long. If he's around at all, it's just because we couldn't get any money to sell him, and he's still got a contract, so we're just going to keep him as a rotational player. Something of that nature. Guys that have left, Tabner went out on loan. Kirby left. The board was content with the deal. Maybe not necessarily happy with the deal. I don't know. Was it a good move to get rid of Kirby? I think Shea played a little bit better than him, in my opinion, but maybe I'm just biased because of most recent what I've seen. Sturge, not a great sell necessarily there. Honestly, we're definitely getting worse ratings for the guys that we got rid of than the guys we brought in. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm mostly okay with the guys we still got rid of, to be perfectly honest, because I think the guys we brought in, obviously we did good enough to get us the ultimate victory. So can't argue too much with the way things went in that respect. As far as loans out, okay, those weren't guys we loaned out. Those are just guys that are currently being loaned, I guess. Guys we loaned out, I don't think any of these guys really developed that much this year. We did bring Brattray back into our season, our group proper. He really didn't do much. I don't know what we're going to do with him. He's still got some good potential. We'll see if we can do something with him. Maybe we could just sell him on and get a little bit of money for him. Klee has just not turned out to be anything. Klee just needs to run his course and move on from us. Season results, obviously. Our board expectation was to attempt to avoid relegation, and we won the whole thing. So the board completely undersold us, or underestimated us. Top goal scorer was only Hurd with 9. We didn't even get into the double digits. Obviously, the board is pleased with the things that we've done. There's no doubt that the fine run of results at the end of the season helped us in the overachieving. Absolutely. We absolutely overachieved big time. FA Cup, we didn't really make it that far. I think we should have gotten past Swansea, but it is what it is. And then Carabao Cup, we did lose to Leeds here. But, we did all right. I mean, it is what it is. We definitely need to start doing better if we're going to be in a Premier League proper spot. But we'll see. Moments to remember, our biggest win was against Bristol City, 5-0. Our match to remember was against Coventry. It's kind of weird that that's a match to remember, but we did pull out the 3-2 victory there late. Or actually, no, this was early. I'm sorry, this was an early one. And then our goal of the season came from Salisbury in the 20th minute of our draw in the Carabao Cup against Lincoln. So let's go look at that. Salisbury, go. First, we're going to get a goal from Lincoln, I think. Which we do. And then, is this the Salisbury go? Here we go. Here's the Salisbury go. I mean, I guess. It was all right. I mean, I think I've seen some better goals over the season, but that one wasn't bad. And then here's the draw from Lincoln, but thankfully we went on to get the victory in penalties. I'm actually not going to show the penalties. I don't think we need to see that. Oh, I did not mean to go all the way back. Where were they? Where was it? There we go. Let's go. Sorry about that. So that was the goal of the season. The finances, we're still just a 2.5 star reputation team. Hopefully we can continue to grow that, because it's going to be extremely hard for us to bring good players in if our reputation does not go up. We have a 5-year deal worth $268K. Sponsorships did go up. Broadcast revenue went down ever so slightly, but basically the same. Corporate hospitality went up a bit. Competition prize money, we actually did get a little bit more of that. And then matchday commercial retail went up a bit as well. Merchandise 434. I don't know why it's not showing the shirts anymore, but Shea was one of our top shirt sales. Hurd. Salisbury, I believe, was one of the top shirt sales. I can't remember the other two, but we definitely had lots of shirt sales that gave us quite a bit of money. Here is how we lined up. Obviously, Zach and Go. Jazoba on the left, Hatto on the right, Campbell, Katongo in the middle, Holland, Mdouni ahead of them. Dafter, really, on the left wing, Hurd on the right wing. That one makes sense. Salisbury, Kirby up front. Really, Shea did not do enough to take over the Kirby spot. It's interesting. I will say, Jazoba may not be sticking around very long. The big reason for that is he wants a new contract, and the contract he wants is 10 times his current salary. He's making like $2,000 per week, and he wants $20,000 per week. And if we gave all of our players 10 times their current salary, we would have no money left. So cannot do that. I mean, if he wanted like 6K, even 8K, something like that, 3 to 4 times his current salary, maybe I would negotiate with him. But 10 times your amount, not saying that you shouldn't be earning 10 times your amount if you're a Premier level player, but we're just not at a salary yet that can justify paying all of our players 10 times their amount. So for that reason, we are probably going to move Jazoba on, unfortunately, but we shall see. Accolades, obviously, we did get the manager of the month for the March. Good stuff, but we obviously did win the whole thing. Fan player of the season was Zach Attack. Really? Young player of the season was Vernon. Signing of the season was Mdouni. Goal of the season was Salisbury. We saw that goal. Top goal scorer was Salisbury with 9, although Hurd had also 9. Holland had 8 assists, not bad. Katongo got 3 Player of the Match awards. Zach got a 7.0 average rating over the course of the season. That's pretty awesome. And then Katongo picking up a bunch of passes. Sack 22 clean sheets. Yeah, that was huge. That was a big part of how we finished this. And then Aldcraft, 2.14 million transfer fee for Aldcraft. I mean, yeah, a player that we weren't really playing. Getting up some money for him, that's not bad. History in the making. Your hard work and effort. Okay, we've seen that before. Banbury dared to dream, and thanks to a great run of results in the middle of the season, their promotion dreams came true. Obviously, we would have been perfectly fine with just getting promoted. The fact that we won the whole thing is just insane. And we did have the highest goal differential, so we won it properly. Like, that's if we had like a 22 goal differential and Preston had the 4-6. If that part was the other way around and we were the winners, I'd be like, okay, we made it. I don't know how that happened, but we got it. 46 goal difference. We took care of business, guys. We absolutely. I mean, and a big part of that was the clean sheets from Zach. I mean, he shut people down. We've already looked at the timeline in the last episode. That is that. Anything else we want to look at? Not really. So the only thing we want to look at is, okay, there's a couple things. First off, we are not getting a bigger stadium. The board is only going to add the 235 seats that we need to be able to be a 5,000 seat capacity stadium. And they are also adding in the underground heating. So it's going to be like 1.8 or 2 million or something like that. So they're just putting just enough money in to meet the demand, which means we are going to make no money. We are going to be so far in the hole at the end of the season. If we go through this, if we spend all this money here and hit this wage budget, I don't know how we're going to be able to make money. The only money we're going to make is going to be the money that comes from the Premier League itself. We're not going to make money from seat sales because we have no seats, which is just frustrating beyond belief, as you guys can imagine. I don't know. I mean, I think it's like a 20-year cycle or something insane, 10 or 20 or something like that, before your board even considers building a brand new stadium again. So we're stuck in this podunk stadium for all of the Premier League, which is, it is going to make things very, very, very challenging. And I don't think there's anything we can do about it. I mean, I would gladly say, hey, take half of this money and go build us a $14 million, dollar stadium, or 20 million. I don't care, something, but that is not going to happen. As far as debts and stuff like that, we do still have some bank loans for our current stadium stuff. I think all of these were bank stadium things. This $2 million is the most recent one. We've only got $500K remaining on that one. We still got a lot remaining on that one. So we still got a lot of debt. To be fair. I mean, that's just fair. Not very much transfer debt, actually, which I probably could squeeze a little bit more transfer debt out of things. I don't know how things are going to work, guys. You guys maybe know better than I do about teams that are very little and small and getting into the Premier League. I think this is my first time doing this. The last time I tried something like this was years ago. And I don't think I made it past the championship. And I stopped playing. It's not because I couldn't. I kind of stopped playing. This is before I started recording stuff. So this is my first time actually taking a Vanarama National team, which, to be fair, Vanarama National North team, which had just gotten promoted from the league below that. So this team has effectively gone from a step below the Vanarama National North all the way to the Premier League in whatever amount of time. Because you basically, that first one was one that, we got for free basically because they did it. But they were effectively a team below that level the year that we started this whole thing. So it's crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. But obviously we got transfer, but we've got to do something. We've got to get some players in here. And speaking of players, let's take a look at where the line is going to be of players that we for sure get rid of. I mean, anybody that's at a 6.6 or lower is for sure gone. So Pip Iron, if we can get anything for him, he's definitely gone. Hayes, if we can get, we're not going to get anything for him. I don't know if he's even worth selling, quite frankly, at that level. But we'll try. We'll try to get something for him. If nothing else, getting his $5,500 per week off the wage budget would be a really good idea. I don't know if we're going to be able to get Griffithson for a long term. I don't know if we want to. I mean, 6.86 is not bad. And a guy that we know can play in our form stuff and has room to grow. If we can get him for $750K, absolutely. I actually think he would be a bargain. So we might take a look at him. Ingram, we will not be taking a look at. He can go on his merry way as far as I'm concerned. I would say that we even bump it up even further to 6.7 and below. If you're not got a lot of potential, then you're probably going to go on and move on from us. So Isaac Smith, I think, is a good guy to move on. King, I might float him around, but if we could keep him, I don't think I would be unhappy with that. If he can grow into his potential, that would not be bad. Rattray, he didn't play well. If we can get a couple mil for him, I might sell him on. If not, I will put a pretty high floor on him. Let's put it that way. Like if it goes down below 1.5 mil, I might be like, okay, you know what? We'll keep him because he might develop into somebody who's worth something. But if we can get two mil for him, yeah, maybe we will sell him on something like that. So I'll be taking a look at this for sure. And we'll definitely be taking a look at some of the guys up here who are worth a lot of money that maybe we could sell on and go from there. So, I mean, 6 mil for Zack Attack. I don't know if we'd ever get that much for him. Mdouni, 6 mil for him. 5 mil for Katongo. I don't know. I need to think about some of these guys, especially the guys that don't have a lot of growth ahead of him. Ahead of them. We might be taking a look at some of those, floating them around, see what we can do. So we'll probably keep the majority of the team because obviously the majority of the team did pretty well. But there's definitely going to be some players, I think, that need to move on. And we'll keep poking around and taking a look at that. The good thing about Zack Attack, he's 31 years old, but I want to say that goalkeepers reach their peak at like 31, 32, something like that. They actually can play for a very long time without starting to fall off. So he might be a goalkeeper that we just keep for quite a while because he's just going to be a good goalkeeper for a long time. So we shall see. But I'm going to go away, do some business. This might take me a long time. This might take me many, many, many hours to go through this bit by bit. But I'll let you guys know if anything crazy or exciting comes up. I'm still very disappointed about the stadium, but it's just going to have to be what it is. So I will bring you guys back on this news. All right, we have done some business. There have been some transfers out of the team. Nothing really coming in, although there's 3 free guys. We'll take a brief look at them. Nothing to write home about, though. I would say some controversial transfers out, for sure. Absolutely controversial. I mean, there's nothing else to do except get right into these. So I'm not even going to move my head because I don't want to show you guys the values until we take a look at them together. So first up, Chizoba's out. Chizoba wanted, I think I mentioned before, 10 times his current wage. Well, his current wage was like 2.2 or 2.8 or something like that. He wanted 10 times that amount to stay. And I'm just like, you know what? I do need to pay more. Don't get me wrong. I get that. But we're only making like 3 to 4 times more wage budget. I can't pay people 10 times their current wage just to keep them around. I can't afford that, in my opinion. And I don't know that he's worth £20,000 per week. The play team we sent him off to, he's only making just under £4,000 per week, right? So 20,000 is a massive jump up. So we did sell him for £1 million. For a guy that we got for free back in the Vanarama National League, he's gotten us a long ways. He's never been like amazing, outstanding, over the top 7.0 plus player, but he's been a solid player this entire time. So yeah, it hurts a little bit to get rid of this guy. But for a guy that we got for free, selling him off for $1 million, I mean, could we have found some way to get more? Maybe, but it's still £1 million profit for a guy that we've kept for quite some time. So Chizoba's gone, again, primarily because of the wage thing. If he had been okay with taking a little bit less money, I probably would have just kept him, you know, to be perfectly honest. We then sold on King here. King is a player, you know, he's got some room to grow, and it's possible that he was going to turn into somebody who was amazing. But we bought him for $375 and then turned around a year later after he played, okay, but not amazing. And we sold him for $875,000. So we sold him for a $500K profit. Hard to argue with that, quite frankly. Just a quick, easy $500,000 profit is what it is, right? We didn't really get attached to him, so no big deal. Holland's a pretty big, powerful one. Pretty painful one, I should say. Holland played well for us this last season. He was on a 6.89. That's pretty solid play, all in all. We got him for $58K 2 years ago, and we sold him for $3.7 million. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't care how good he played. He could have been a 7.5 player this last season. There is not a lot of players that I'm not willing to flip for basically a $3.5 million plus profit, quite frankly. That's a lot of money to flip profit-wise. So we sold him on. He did his job. He did okay. Pretty happy with him for the most part, but also pretty happy with the fact that we sold him for a massive profit. Then comes Campbell. Campbell is one that he was extremely good for us last season. 7.0 player. We barely got any profit for him. So you're like, why did we sell him? Why did we sell him? The reason we sold him is because his stats were starting to go down. So basically, this 7.0, in my opinion, is probably going to be the best he's ever played. I don't know that he's going to play any better than that. He's going to just kind of slowly start to degrade in his performance. And I wanted to sell him before he just degraded below the value that we paid for him in the first place. So we got a little bit of profit, not much, and got rid of a player who extremely well last season, but also probably at his peak, quite frankly. So there we go. Maybe we could have kept him. Maybe we should have kept him. I don't know. It's hard to say sometimes because sometimes you just got to sell the players you get offers for. I mean, I had a whole bunch of players that I put up that I didn't get any offers for that I would have been completely happy with getting rid of. So sometimes you just got to sell the players that are worth something to you. I'm going to skip the next one. We're going to come back to him. Zach Bell also leaves. Another player who has been okay for us, not amazing for us. 6.74 is not. It's both good and bad. I mean, it's just is what it is. It's not an amazing stat. It's not a bad stat. He did all right, but we got him for free and sold him for 450K. So again, basically a $500,000 profit for him for a guy that was just whatever. So went ahead and sold him on. He was definitely just below the line of where I wanted to keep players. So I was okay with selling him for a little bit of something, quite frankly. And then finally we sold Richie. And Richie's the probably the most controversial one. I love Richie. Richie would have been amazing to keep around. But he is another one of those players that we've got to sell him for what we can sell him for because we got a massive profit for him. Quite frankly. That's really all it comes down to. We paid 8.25K for him back in the Vanarama National League. And this guy has not disappointed, really. I mean, he has never gone back above 7.0 since we left the League One. So 6.79, 6.83. I would say Championship League is probably his peak. And I think he's an amazing League One player, a good Championship player. I can't imagine, as good as he was in Championship, he was a good player. Like I said, he probably was going to be a little bit below average for a Premier League player. So the fact that we got 7.25 that could go as high as 9.5 million for this guy, almost 10 million for this guy, for a guy that we basically got for free, it is extremely hard to say no to an offer like that. This guy was our new record sell overall, right? And so, again, I love Richie. Nothing wrong with Richie whatsoever. I think he was going to be below average in the next league up. And I think the fact that we've kept him as long as we have is amazing. We kept him for a long time, and he paid off. He paid off for us. We got a big payday from him. So all that stuff done, we're up to about just shy of 40 million in the transfer budget. We got 11 million in the bank account, although a lot of that's going to go away once we start doing some transfers. We're only committed to spending 88,000 right now. So we've got plenty of room in the wage budget to go get some players. So I've done all the outs. I think there's one more player that might be leaving, and that is, I actually don't remember. I'm not saying. Oh, no, it's a loanee. There's a loanee that might go out. That's it. No other sales right now, and I don't think I'm planning on any other sales unless somebody just comes in for somebody who I don't have up on the transfer list and just says, hey, we'll give you stupid money for this guy that you weren't planning on selling. I might consider it. But as of right now, no more outgoing. So now it's just going to be the incomings. So what are we looking for? Well, goalkeeper, I think we're okay. Zach Attack is honestly playing well. He's really in his prime. And Umo, the big thing about Umo is we got to figure out how to get him developed. Because if he can develop up to Zach Attack level, honestly, for no other reason than just to sell him on and make a good profit, I'd be happy with that. Or if he got up to Zach Attack level and we could sell Zach Attack for a couple mil and keep Umo for the future. I don't know. One of the two, something like that. We've got to figure out how to get Umo developed. And he's not going to develop as just a pure backup. So we'll take a look at that. We probably will bring another goalkeeper in, just a backup goalkeeper, and then find a way to get Umo out on loan. On left back, we're mostly good on left back. I could live with these two left backs, Brandel and Dafter. They played okay for us last season, and I think they'll be all right going into this next one. So these are probably okay left backs. Unless we just get an amazing guy that just comes across the wire, we might just be happy with this. Right back, same kind of idea. Pretty okay with Hadow. I mean, he's basically in his prime. He's got a little bit of room to grow. And Bennett played okay as well. So left back and right back, I think I could live with these two if we just weren't able to find anybody else. Again, we're not going to close our eyes to guys that look good in these areas, but we're not unhappy with these spots. Center back, we definitely need a better player. 2.5 stars. Moss could develop into a 4-star player. Don't get me wrong. Katongo and Smith could both develop into 3-star players. They're all solid players. Don't get me wrong. But we need like a star player or two to sit in that central area and let these guys come in there as like rotation players. And I think these guys will be great rotation players. I think they're guys we can depend on, but we need those slightly better players as our primary. So probably a pair of center backs is something we're looking at. Defensive midfield. Amdouni, obviously, this guy's got to be premier level, right? I mean, this guy's obviously really, really good, and he's got room to grow. So Amdouni, definitely. Rattray, I'm not convinced about yet. I don't think he's quite there yet. He could be a rotational player that can help it develop. So I think at the very least, we need one more defensive midfielder. Oh, and by the way, as of right now, I'm planning on sticking with this formation. It worked. It looks solid. We're going to stick with this formation for now. And so I'm going to build around this formation for now, and we'll see where it goes from there. I think Rattray is going to be a good backup. And we also have, obviously, I don't have him on this list because I just went ahead and make sure I trimmed it down to exactly what we got. But we know that Hadow can play defensive midfielder, right? Is it Hadow? No. It's Brando can play defensive midfield. And then Moss. Moss is the one that can play defensive midfield. So we've got a couple other players that can rotate defensive midfielder if we need them to. So honestly, getting one more defensive midfielder and then some of those rotationals, I think will be fine. So we got 2 center backs, 1 defensive midfielder so far. Left wing, absolutely need somebody. We need at least one person, maybe 2. Hayes, I don't think is going to cut it. He's all we got right now because we sold. We're going to play Dafter as a wingback, and we sold on Richie. And then obviously Caramo didn't come back. There's a couple other players that just got released because they just weren't going to be great. So Hayes, I mean, could he fill in in a pinch? Maybe. I'm not convinced about that. So we need at least one good attacking midfielder on the left, possibly 2. Attacking midfielder on the right, we're better on. Hurd is going to be okay this next season as definitely a backup, possibly a starter if we just can't find anybody. But I'm going to try and pursue a good, solid right winger as well. And then striker's another place that, if this is how we ended up starting the season, I could live with this because I think Salisbury is going to be great. We saw Shea do good stuff. Vernon's got a lot of room to grow. Even Pip Iron here could potentially be turned into something good. So I think we're okay on strikers, but I'd like to get at least one more like just solid, amazing striker, especially if we're going to play 2. Just to make sure we have a good rotation and things like that. Possibly a striker that can play one of these other spots and then just kind of move some stuff around. Although I will also say that guys like Shea, Salisbury, Vernon, all 3 of those guys can play, right, left, whatever. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at backup goalkeeper. In fact, I'm actually going to start writing this down because I need to make sure I remember some of these things. So we want to get a goalkeeper for backup, and then we want a. I'm not going to write down left and right backs because I think we're okay. But I will obviously, I always look for just good players. We need at least 2 center backs, 2-star center backs. We need a good defensive midfielder, and then we need a left winger, at least 1, possibly 2, at least 1 right winger, and then that's about it. I mean, that's if we get those 6 and then fill in a couple just amazing players just for wherever. Then I think we might have a team that's potentially good enough to stay up this next season. So that's what I'm going to go do. I'm going to go do some business, try to get those 6 spots filled, and you guys will know as soon as I know. But like I said, a lot of stuff going out. Now it's time to spend the money that we got, get some guys coming in. All right, we are back, and we've done a little bit of work. As you can see, the transfers in is a bigger number than the transfers out. So I've done some stuff. As far as people leaving, I don't think there's anybody new that's left. No, there is not on this screen. There is somebody new on the next screen, and we'll talk about that here in just a moment. I did forget to show you guys the free guys that we brought in. So we'll start with those guys. We brought in Stuart Parker from Man City. He's just a 18-year-old, got a lot of potential. Never know if one of these guys will turn out to be something. So I like to sign some of these guys with lots of potential that are not going to cost us much. So he comes in here, 2-star current ability, could be as high as 4.5-star potential. Then we go, oh, no, spoilers. Then we go to Barnes here. Barnes comes in here, another youngster, 1.5-star current ability, could be as high as 4.5 stars. Again, not really costing us anything. If he doesn't work out, he doesn't work out. No big deal. Then we go to Lawrence here. Another one, 2-star current ability, could be as high as 4.5-star potential. Doesn't cost us hardly anything. He works out, he works out. If he doesn't, he doesn't. No big deal. Cool. So those are the 3 freebies that we got in. I actually dealt with those in the middle of last season. I just forgot to show you guys them. Then we get to some guys that were not that expensive, honestly, but looked like they might be halfway decent. So we got Jamil Carew here. He comes in here as a center back. 3-star current ability, could be as high as 4.5 stars. 22 years old. Not amazing stats last year for Ipswich, but not bad, honestly. And for 275,000, he's kind of one of those guys that's worth making a gamble on to see if he's going to turn into something halfway decent. We then brought in Pupion, who I'm probably just going to call Cameron from now on. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. We're just going to call him Cameron because I cannot say his last name. So Cameron comes in here, 1.2 mil, really not a lot of money. He's been playing outstanding in the Australia A-League. Now, does that match up to where we're at? Probably not, right? There's no way that does. But he looks like he could be a halfway decent player. If we go look at his profile, he's currently a 3.5 star. Could be. I mean, he's basically at his potential right now. 29 years old, and we really desperately needed somebody who could play on the left or the right. I think he'll be playing primarily on the right-hand side, and didn't cost us a ton of money, although his wage is pretty high. So that's probably where we're spending the bulk of the money on him is his wage. We then brought in Humphreys here. Humphreys comes in as just a guy who could play lots of different spots. He could technically play on the right as a winger. He could play on the left as a winger. We're probably brought in Brian primarily in as a defensive midfielder. 28 years old, so a little bit older than I would probably prefer, but he did come in on a free. He played pretty well last year for Aberdeen in the Scotland Premier League, so we'll see how he plays at this level. He's definitely looked a little bit... He looked as good as Amdouni, honestly. He just doesn't have as much potential because Amdouni's a bit younger. So Humphreys hopefully will work out for us. Again, free guy, although we are paying him a pretty good chunk of wages. After Humphreys comes in Hecker. Hecker comes in, he's a left back primarily. So he, like I said, I was going to keep my eyes open for a left or right back if they look like they're going to work out. This guy and the next guy are both guys that look like they could be really, really good. He only did a 6.75 last season for Middlesbrough in the championship, 7.02 the season before that, 6.94 the season before that. So I know he can play pretty well. Overall, his stats are looking pretty decent. And he's got a lot of room to grow. So he definitely comes in here as my best left back in theory. 21 years old with lots of room. We did pay a big chunk of money for him though. £10 million is a lot of money to gamble on a guy that we don't know for sure is going to work out. But you know what? If we don't make some gambles, then we'll never get the good guys, right? Like even if only half our gambles, or let's say a quarter of our gambles worked out, that's still, let's say I gamble on 4 players, that's still a good player that we end up with at the end of the day, which I think could be beneficial to us. So very, very expensive player, but looks good on paper. Whether or not he matches up with our formation and everything else we got going on, we will find out. Then we bring in Spagnoli. He comes in here as a right back. Again, looks great on paper. He comes in as our best right back. Played decently well in the Portugal Premier League, 6.88 last season. And we bought him for a lot of money. 12.25 million is a stupid amount of money. Could go as high as 16 million when it's all said and done. So a left back and a right back that are really the bulk of our transfer, which is funny because that's not what we needed the most. But I felt like we got good players filling the other spots. We got to go out and get some star players, and I just couldn't find star players in the places we needed the most. I had to go find star players in some of the other places that maybe we had okay people on. These guys might be able to step it up and give us that next level. Then we flipped over to kind of, I guess, technically this season. And we'll start with, we'll go ahead and go over here on the left-hand side because the left-hand side here does play into what happened on the right-hand side. So first up is Watts. And Watts comes in here as a goalkeeper. Yeah, we already had a good goalkeeper. Obviously, our goalkeeper was 4-star current, 4-star potential. Well, this guy is 4-star current, could be 5-star potential, only 20 years of age. He comes in here. He played okay in League One last season, 6.87, 15 clean sheets, not bad. Zacatec had 20 in championship. So can this guy make the step up to the Premier League? We'll find out. But he's not like he's definitely a good player. But of course, if we brought him in, we don't need Zacatec. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you this one as well. Zacatec did go out. He left on a £4 million leaving fee, which is a pretty significant bump in profits for us. Obviously, he had 21 clean sheets last year. He played exceptionally well last season. And I do know that he can make the step up to the Premier League. Absolutely. But he's 31 years old, which is the prime window for goalkeepers. Don't get me wrong. I get that. But we need a goalkeeper that's going to last us the next 5 years. And I don't know if Zacatec makes it to 30, 36, 37, 30. We don't know. It's hard to say sometimes. And bringing a guy in who's already, in theory, at his level for basically the same money, not that much more. 1.25 mil more is not that much more. And he's got so much room to grow. Just felt like a good gamble to make. We did lose Mahady as well, our other backup goalkeeper. We weren't really going to be playing him anyway. He went out on a free. Then we bring in Kamal here. He comes in here fairly low amount. 1.9 million up front. It's not that bad. He's on a 6.72 last season in the Bundesliga 2, which obviously is a step below. It's actually more along the lines of the championship. But he comes in here as a decently good center back. This is actually a guy that my director of football brought in. And honestly, my director of football has not made, he's actually made some good picks. And so that's part of the reason why I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. We'll see if this guy works out. Just another decent player in the center back spot. So we'll see what he does. We then brought in Pastor, another guy who's probably going to primarily play as a center back, although he can also play on the right-hand side. 3.5 star current ability, could be as high as 4.5 star. 20 years old, young, could grow, could become amazing. We don't know. It's hard to tell. He played for Norwich last season. Played decently okay. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with the 6.75. We have plenty of guys around that level as well. We paid a good chunk of money for him. I am making a bit of a gamble on him, but I don't know. I felt like he's a guy that could turn into something that fits us for the long run. And that's part of what we're doing. We're having to make gambles on some guys that could turn out to be amazing players in the long run. So some players I think that we made gambles on, we paid basically nothing for. So if they turn into really good players, we are making bukus of money. And then some of these guys we're making gambles on, we did pay a big chunk of money for. But I mean, this is what we've been doing this entire time. Go back all the seasons that we've done and all the lower leagues. We have a few players that we get for free or for very little. And we have a few players that we put a little bit more money into. And at the very least, most of the guys that we put a little bit more money into, they usually at least break even. I mean, I don't think we've lost money on anybody like very much at all. Like maybe once or twice, and it was very small loss. We've very rarely have we lost money on people. And most of the time we actually end up selling people for significantly more than we paid for them. So I feel like my instincts are we're gonna stick with those for now and see if this works out for us. But obviously we're getting into big boy monies now compared to some of the lower leagues. Mateo Joseph is actually a guy I looked at last season, believe it or not. He comes in here, 3.5 star current, could be as high as, he's basically at his potential. 28 years old, just already at his potential. Good finishing, good first touch, good dribbling, honestly. I mean, that's not bad. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's not bad. And he comes in here as just another option as a striker. He didn't play well for Wigan last season, but honestly, Wigan didn't do well last season. So hard to say much, except for the fact that he did get more goals than any of our players, right? We didn't have anybody in double digits. He's on 13. So we know he can score some goals. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping that it was just a Wigan thing and not a him thing. But again, we are not paying a lot of money for him. 850K at this level is literally nothing. And then we bring in Reece Evans here. He comes in here as a potential left back, or left winger, I should say. Could also play as a striker if we need him to, but primarily as a left winger. This is a guy I think that my director of football put forward. He comes in on a free. Could be as high as 4-star potential, 22 years old. Fits our signing mentality of wanting to sign under 23-year-olds. He fits that. And then Garrett Keddy, I think this is a guy I actually went after. Comes in on a free as well. Center back, could play on the right back. 3.5 star current. Could go as high as 4-star. 22 years old. Another youngster that could develop to be a little bit better. You never know. I mean, if we turn around and sold him next year for £4 million, that's already, a decent profit in some sense. So other than the fact that we're having to pay some big chunk of wages on these guys. So that's our team. So the way it looks as we speak is this. Let's actually start with the goalkeeper. Obviously, Watts becomes our primary goalkeeper since Zach Attack left. We'll find out if he turns out to be good. Umo comes in. I guess he's going to stick around as our backup. I don't know if I like that, though. We need to figure something out with Umo. I may need to loan him out and try to get me just a cheap backup. I don't know. But we got to get Umo some game time. At the very least, Umo might come in here and play some cup games or something like that. We'll figure it out. Still got to figure out the Umo problem. On the left back, we've got Hecker as our primary, with Randall and Dafter as his backups. As you can see, I am loading in a few guys that just got released from Premier level teams. I'm probably not going to go after any of these guys, although this guy is obviously pretty good. But, 36 years old, 34 years old, it's a bit high on my list of I just don't know if I want to pay that much for somebody. But obviously these guys are very, very good. We're going to stick with the youngsters for now in these spots. But that's our left side. Right side, we got Spagnoli as a primary, Haddo as our backup, Ben as our third backup. Again, several of these guys can play in other spots, so I think these guys will get plenty of game time. They just might not get plenty of game time in the role that we originally intended for them. Center back, we got a lot of options. Kamola and Carew and Pastor and Keddy, all four of the guys we brought in this season are probably slotted to be our primaries, to be honest. Moss and Katango are kind of dropping down a little bit. Katango just doesn't have a lot of potential for growth, whereas these guys have a lot of potential for growth, so I'd like to primarily play them. O'Toole's still on this list from last season that we picked up as somebody who was cheap. He's still got a lot of room for growth, so we got a lot of center backs, more than we need for sure. but we'll rotate them as much as we can. Some of these guys can play defensive midfield as well as needed. Speaking of defensive midfield, Amdouni and Humphreys as our primary two. Currently, Rattray and Rose, and even Gilligan, technically, although we're probably going to try to let Gilligan go soon. Rattray and Rose for sure in there as some backups that have a lot of room for growth. And then, of course, like I said, several of these center backs and right backs and stuff can also play defensive midfielder if we need them to. Left wing, we have Evans and Hayes. Because Evans is our best option here, and he's honestly not that great, although he does have a lot of room for growth. I am going after this guy. He's a little bit younger than the other two that we saw on the left back. I did offer him a contract. Just somebody who could come in here, already 4-star ability. Hopefully, if he accepts it, we'll have somebody that can just hold down the fort a little bit, or at the very least, fill in from time to time to give Evans still plenty of game time to develop, but somebody who's better than Hayes as another option. On the right-hand side, we have Hurd and Cameron as our primary two. Hurd probably will be our primary, with Cameron definitely fitting in there as a good option as a secondary when we need to. And then as strikers, we have 5 options currently, although Pip Iron probably won't be around forever. So we got Mateo Joseph and Salisbury probably as our primary two, with Shea and Vernon as very solid, very good backups. And then, of course, as people start to play better and better, we'll see who... I mean, it's possible Shea takes over one of these spots. You never know. Or Vernon, you know. So that is our team so far. Several backups and quite a few options. As far as left winger and right winger, obviously several of our strikers can play there as well. So I'm not too worried about the fact that we've only currently got 2 in each of those spots. Even if we get this guy, you know, we don't have a ton of options. But honestly, we do look pretty decent overall. This is pretty solid, honestly. My biggest question mark still is how we're going to get Umo some development. So like I said, we might need to go get us a backup goalkeeper that can just be just a pure backup, just in case Watts gets injured, and then get Umo out on a loan or something like that. But other than that, that's it. As far as anything up, we haven't actually gotten that very far in the friendlies, but honestly, I don't have any money left, really. I mean, I have maybe a tiny bit. Okay, that's right. Because I just sold Zach Attack, we do have a little bit of money left, but I'm probably not going to try and do anything with this because other than, like I said, getting a backup goalkeeper. So I don't think I'm going to spend money on a backup goalkeeper. I'm going to try and find me one for free, if anything. Obviously, we're very much in the hole on the financial side of things, but we're about to get like 30 million bucks from TV money from the Premier League. So I'm not super worried about that. Although our projection is looking positive. So overall, not bad. I'm still disappointed that our stadium is going to be pretty sad, but it is what it is. So I think that's it. I mean, I think I'm pretty happy with the squad. I definitely think it's a squad that's good enough to win the championship because I think it's a slight step up from what we had last season. It's just whether or not it's a question of is a squad that's good enough to stay up this season, and that is a question I don't know the answer to. Teams that came up from this last season. Actually, that's one thing I have not checked is our season preview. Yeah, we are by far, absolutely heads and tails by far, the favorites to go down. I mean, I don't think I've seen it that big this entire save at all. Obviously, Preston is also on that list. Everton's actually not favored to go down, even though they just came up. I'm actually surprised. I didn't realize they were the ones that came up. But all I was going to say is that we've seen Wolves before. I mean, there's several teams down here. As long as we can just beat a couple of them, right? We don't need to beat them all, just a couple of them. We only got to beat, 3? So you never know. That's all we got to look for. Last season, the relegation started around 32, 33 points. So if we can stay on that 1 point per game rating, so 38 points, in theory, we would be safe. And that's really all we got to hope for at this point. Just stay up, keep getting that money. And if we keep getting that money, we'll definitely be able to improve the team from that point forward. Obviously, we don't have anybody on this list, as you would expect. I was going to say, I don't even know if I have anybody on this list. We got Watts and we got Mateo on this key player list. So I guess that's our 2 best players. Do they always show people for all the teams? Maybe they do. But yeah, I mean, that's where we're at. I'm feeling mostly okay. Mostly okay. I'm using that term very loosely, but I think we have a team that can stay up. But even if we don't, we got a good chunk of money. And I think if we go back down to the championship, I think we have a team that can definitely come back up again. So that's where we're at. I'm going to leave it at that. Like I said, I'm going to go find us another backup goalkeeper and try to get Umo out on loan. Other than that, I don't expect a whole lot more to happen. So there we go. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But I'm excited to finally be in the Premier League. I think this is going to be lots of fun, even though I expect us to lose quite a bit. But I still think it's going to be a lot of fun. We shall see. I do appreciate you guys watching, though. May God bless you. And I hope you join me again next time. Thank you and goodbye. I wanted to give a special shout out to the following channel members. Thank you so much for supporting the channel.